Hi, you've tuned into Behind the Scenes. Today, Chelsea and Rani are diving into women in games where they're joined by Lisy Kane, co-founder of Geek Academy and lead producer of League of Geeks, to discuss her experience in the gaming industry. Remember, discussion is encouraged, so make sure to connect with fellow viewers in the comments below or via our Facebook page, Behind the Scenes. So, let's get started.
So with only 18% of the workforce in the games industry being women, role model Lisy Kane is paving the way for women in the industry. She's well recognized and in high demand within the gaming and tech educational forums, speaking at events like STEM, Gamers Development Conference, and DICE Summit.
Co-founder of Geek Academy and lead producer of League of Geeks, we have Lisy with us now to tell us a bit more about her mission to inform and support women in the tech and gaming industry. Thank you for joining us, Lisy.
Thanks for having me. Thanks for virtually having me. It's great because it means that I don't have to fly up to Brisbane. I can just talk to you now, which is great.
Yeah, it makes it easy.
Yeah.
From a young girl with like an interest in web design that we do here, you got into a little bit of trouble with.
How did you find that out? That's so fun. That is good research. That is very good research. Well done.
I'm a game developer and you are a role model, I believe, for women in the gaming industry. We wanted to know how you got a start in this sector of the industry, and was that always your goal when beginning your career?
Definitely not. It was definitely something that I kind of found for myself after a long time of searching and really trying to figure out what I wanted with my career. So when I was younger, I always loved games. I loved technology. I loved making things, building websites, all that kind of stuff. But I was also very interested in creativity. I always played music since a very young age. I was really interested in like film and television. So I knew those two things together was something that I really wanted. In high school, I always thought, oh, maybe I'll be in music, or maybe I'll just do the traditional, I'll be a lawyer or a business person or something. So finishing high school, I had actually no idea what I was actually going to do. So I spent a long time. I actually ended up just working after I finished high school and just working at Suncorp up in Queensland, just working in like a corporate sector. And I just took a long time to figure it out. I went to uni at UQ for about a year where I studied film, TV and music because I thought that's creative, that's great. That's what I love. I love creativity. But there was something missing there, and that was the technology side of things. It didn't, like, film and TV is still obviously quite using relatively straightforward technologies. It's not as progressive as the gaming industry. So when I went back to the drawing board, I dropped out of uni. So I dropped out of uni twice when I was after high school. And I went back to the drawing board and I was like, what do I like? What are the things that I enjoy in life? Because I knew when I wanted to build a career, I wanted it to give me opportunities to travel the world, to really enjoy my life and my career that I'd built for myself. And funnily enough, QUT had a game design course, or had like the ability to study game design. And that's, for me, that was like early 20s. And as soon as I saw that, I had no idea before that you could make games. I didn't know people in Australia were making games. I didn't know people, like, all the things, because I played games, but I didn't put the two and two together that people were actually making them, which is, it seems so silly, but if you ask a lot of people that play games, you probably, before the internet, the era of the internet having access to people, you wouldn't really think about, a team of people actually building those games. So as soon as I figured that out, I just did all the research I could and just really found out that it was something that I would love to do and try my hand at. So I studied and I got my game design degree, my creative industries degree, and then moved down to Melbourne, which is where 50% of the games industry is in Australia. So a majority of that here. So I knew I would either have to move overseas or move down to Victoria. And because I had that drive and because I just knew that's what I wanted, I was just bothering everyone. I was just doing a lot of great internet research. Like it's one of those keys, finding who the key players are in our industry, talking to them, networking, building my own portfolio while I was doing that, and then just really setting a name for myself. And that's how I met my now boss, Trent Custers, who is the founder of League of Geeks, was through that relentless hustling. And he offered me a job, very, very fortunate, offered me a job. And from there, I've just been able to use that platform, and our company has been growing and growing exponentially alongside with my own career. So kind of just took off from there.
Wow. Impressive.
Yeah, that's a kind of short version.
Crazy. So you mentioned Girl Geek Academy. You have a lot going on.
Yeah.
As well as League of Geeks.
Mhm.
But it only took you 8 months to create Armello, a digital board game you described as a Game of Thrones, Kung Fu Panda hybrid. Have you been developing any games since then?
So that game did not take 8 months. I would love for that game did not take 8 months. That game took 5 years to make.
Wow.
So collaboratively, so that game started development in 2011, I think. I joined the team in 2013, 2014. No, 2014, I joined the team. So the game was actually like an after hours game. So basically what that means is the founders of our company were making the game after work for a long time, until they got enough funding and enough grant money to actually leave their jobs and actually start doing it full time and getting more collaborators on board. So all in all, it took 5 years. And then we did support that game a few years after that. At the moment, right now, our team is working on a brand new IP. So when working on games, especially in Australia, there are a few different options. You can make games for licenses. So for example, there are studios that are making licensed games like The Sims or the Scooby-Doo game, where our studio makes our own IP. So we're coming up with the whole concept, the whole world. So we're actually building outside of Armello. So it's not like Armello, but taking a lot we've learned for that, and we're working on that now. So we're in our second year of development for that now, and it's still got another 2 years until we can release that game. I wish games took 8 months to make. Some games do take 8 months to make, but not these games.
It's honestly very interesting. I had a little look at it online, and I've never really, I'm not a huge gamer per se, but I've never seen like a digital working, I don't know, board game that you interact with. It's honestly props to you.
Yeah, it was a great team behind it. So I was, my role in that was producer. So I came in a little bit later on in the project and basically helped it actually come to ship and to release. But it's definitely a goal that we have for our studio, is when you see our games, you have that reaction where you're like, oh, I've never seen anything like that before. So that's definitely, I'm glad you said that.
Just speaking a little bit more in terms of like being a woman in an industry, what do you feel has shifted over this time in terms of women's relationship to games, and like how do you feel that shift has reflected in your own work?
Mm-hmm. I definitely think so. From when I was in university, so when I was actually in university, that's when a few big industry things happened. So that included, one was the great global financial crisis, which impacted the industry as a whole, but also a thing which I won't go into a lot of detail with, but Gamergate happened when I was at university as well. And that was a huge, I guess, movement, or online bullying, as it actually was, I'll call it out as online bullying of women and game developers in general. So it was a whole thing around that, the guise was that it was, ethics and games journalism, but basically effectively they were harassing a female game developer, claiming that she didn't deserve the accolades that she was getting because she was having affiliations with journalists, which is 100% not true. But from there, a lot of conversation and a lot more voices were able to come out around that discrepancy. What you mentioned before is the fact that there's only like 20 to 30% of women making games. But on the flip side, 50% of the gender split when it comes to players is 50-50. So over the last 5 years, what I've definitely seen is we are continuing to have the conversation of women can make games. It's not, you don't make games with your body. You make games with your brain and with your creativity. There's no reason why women can't be making games, and not just women, but underrepresented groups. we're also seeing that conversation continue, but what we're also seeing is a reminder that women are playing games, women are streaming. So we're seeing content creators that are women, and they're doing amazing things. Unfortunately, they're also being harassed online. There's still all of these conversations around online harassment and playing games. I play a lot of games online myself, and I still never go on the microphone because I know it'll be a conversation starter amongst the people that I play with. But we are still having the conversation, which is great. And a lot of big companies are putting their money where their mouth is, per se. Like, they're actually investing in getting more diverse workforces, and they understand why now. It's no longer women just don't want to make games. It's actually like, no, we are making games for a broad range of people. We should have a broad range of people making those products and making those games. So it is still a struggle, and unfortunately the statistics haven't really changed, I don't think. Unfortunately, it is a social thing. It's not just to do with getting more women making games. It's like a whole thing down to when you're like a child, and gendering and all that kind of stuff. So unfortunately for us, it is still a thing, but the conversation does change. So with Girl Geek and the events that we run and the programs that we run, they do change every year because our industry is constantly evolving, and the things that the industry needs is actually shifting. So we do change every year. Like, our program generally doesn't stay the same each year.
So while we're on that topic, how do you overcome the power battle of being a young female in charge of a heavily male dominated sector?
That's a really, really, really good question. I think it's really, really, really tough. But for me, the thing that I have, for two things, I'm very, very fortunate. The company that I work for, League of Geeks, is actually, when I was the first woman to be hired on the team, and they knew that. They were very aware that there were 3 white cisgendered dudes that were running this company, and it was something that they early on knew they had to address, and it's constantly something they're questioning themselves on. So from the beginning, I had a very great environment to be in, because I could actually have a voice, and I was very, very much someone that would definitely say something. But I was still junior at that time when I first started. So I still had those moments of am I allowed to say that? Those little questioning yourself moments. But for me, outside of my work environment, I say this a lot, and I think it's really important for you to find your girl gang, to have a group of people around you, not just women, but a lot of the time it is women, to support you and to be those people that you can bounce ideas off. I have so many people in the industry that I know that I can call or I can message and be like, this feels weird that this is happening. Do you think I should be able to say something, or should I say something? And vice versa. I have people coming to me quite often, obviously in the position that I hold, that are they're asking me to do this work and they're asking me to do it for free. Should I ask to be paid? I'm like, yes, you should be asked to be paid, and this is how you can do it. So having a girl gang or a group of people around you that you can call on to support. Honestly, I wouldn't be able to do any of this if I didn't have a group to support me. It's brave to go on your own, but you don't have to. There are so many people out there that are willing to spend the time and encourage and support you, even just online, like Twitter, and there's lots of Facebook groups that you can be part of. Just asking and sense checking things is really, really important.
That's great.
Yeah, I honestly think women supporting each other is just pinnacle in the way that we as individual women run our lives.
Men have it inherently. We have all those things like Rolodex syndrome, and you have all those things where, men have for years, down to the era of cigar rooms and all that kind of stuff. They've always had that group. It's funny, they don't, men and the whole gendering of things, women have, their little gossip circles, and men have their cigar rooms, but they're actually, that's camaraderie and that's friendship. And that's, they can call someone and be like, hey, I've got this job. Do you want to come do it? I'll just hire you. You don't have to worry about it. That kind of thing has been so intrinsic in business in general with men, and women often don't have that because they are the only person, or they are one of, they're not part of that group, that in that group. So it's so important to have that.
In saying that, then how do you think you can empower other women in the industry, even if they're getting a role or job position over you?
So for me, or for like in general, like is if like seeing,
generally speaking, or specifically if you were to support a woman that was going for the same job as you, how would you go about
that's a really, so actually as an example, it's interesting. So once again, very fortunate. We talk a lot about feelings and emotions in my current role, because, you know, we make games because we're passionate about them. We don't make games because we otherwise would be making software and probably getting paid twice as much money. But when so basically my role, going from a small studio to a much bigger studio, you have to kind of, you know, delegate work and give work to other people in order to get your actual job done. So one thing we did is we had to hire a studio manager to come and do all the recruitment and culture side of our studio. And that was something that I really helped spearhead, and I actually did a lot of the work on and set it all up and set the processes up originally. And so we hired another awesome woman to come and do that job, basically effectively taking away like 30% of my workload from me. And my boss, Trent, sat me down and was like, I just wanted to check in and see how you're feeling about this, because effectively she's coming in and taking like a bunch of your work. How do you feel about that? And I just said, I hadn't even thought about it, because I was like, I'm actually really excited to give away some of my work. But when she did start, and it's an interesting thing that does sometimes happen, even if it is a woman, and this person, Megan, she's incredible. She's one of the best people to work with. I still had, for the first time, I actually had that point where I had someone that was on the same level as me, because I've been kind of the lead producer for a while. So I haven't really had anyone else on my same level. And there was those moments of like, oh, they're having a meeting and I'm actually not involved. I don't know everything. For the first time in my job, I actually don't know everything and know what is going on with every single person. And it was something that actually was quite difficult. I always had this moment of like second guessing myself and like, oh, maybe I'm not needed anymore. But at the end of the day, it did give me the space to continue and do really, really good things in my own job and focus on my own role, and really make sure that I was doing that job. If someone else was definitely going for my job, it's one of those things. It's like, especially if it's a woman, I just want to make sure that the right person's doing the right job at the end of the day. Like I could be doing anything in the games industry. I just love working in the games industry, but as long as the right person's doing the right job and I can support that person, that's really all I care about. So yeah, that's a tough question.
So do you have any future projects or opportunities that you're currently working on or wish to promote?
So we are working on a new project at the moment. Unfortunately, I can't talk about it, but keep an eye out. We will be making an announcement probably June, July this year of 2020. But it's really, really exciting partner that we're working with. Huge project that we're doing. With Girl Geek Academy at the moment, we do have a few announcements coming up soon, hopefully. One really important thing that we're working on, given the environment that we're in, is that we're running a online forum for high school and primary school girls, which is really, really exciting because everyone's at home. Especially I feel for the parents out there that are having to take care of their kids 24/7 now. But we've started an online forum, which is quite small to begin with because we're testing it out. But it's an environment for young girls to come online 2 days a week and actually chat to other girls of their age about different topics. So we obviously encourage a lot of discussions around STEM and games and everything like that. So far, it's been really, really amazing to watch, because forums to me are a very like 90s thing. So a lot of the girls have never experienced an actual online forum before. So they're really enjoying it and kind of treating it like a chat room, which has been very exciting. So that's on Tuesdays and Thursdays for any high school or primary school girls at the moment, which is super exciting. Wonderful. It's so good. They're so funny. They're actually quite savage. We did an AMA with myself. So I came on, I was like, hey, I'm Lisy Kane and I'm a game developer, co-founder of the Girl Geek Academy, here to answer any questions. And the first comment was, who's Lisy Kane? Like, they just had no idea. I'm like, they don't care. Like, they're school kids. They don't care about who I am. They don't understand. I was like, oh, that's so. I was like, oh, harsh.
Well, thank you so much for joining us, Lisy. We really appreciate it, and I'm sure like all the women out there that are interested in the gaming industry will find so much content from this webinar.
Yeah.
with us. So really appreciate you joining us. And
Of course. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, very excited.
Make video games.